Join the conversation with the Morning Majlis, Pulse 95.
Join the conversation with the Morning Majlis. We've just received the guidelines from the Sharjah Economic Development Department regarding the issuance of licenses for foreign ownership of the companies, and there are about 1,289 activities available for full foreign ownership of firms here in the Emirate of Sharjah. However, there's some exceptions that they've said, and the legal status available for foreign ownership include limited liability companies, private joint stock companies, and the forms specified in 1 and 2 above may be of the type of sole proprietorship company as well. Activities permitted for foreign ownership are loads, 1,239 in fact, 289 rather. But there are some exceptions.
There are some exceptions indeed. All industrial and commercial activities except for some. I'll tell you what it is. First of all, being printing of banknotes, banks, exchange houses, finance and insurance companies, services related to fisheries, security, defense and military activities, Holy Quran centers, Hajj and Umrah services, telecommunication, as well as radio and television broadcasting stations. Now, activities requiring approval of registration and licensing department at the SEDD are the e-commerce, real estate, legal consultation, mobile cars and trucks activities, business centers, businessmen services, taxis, transporting passengers by public transport, i'timad license, and labor supply.
Now, there's a set procedure for establishing the foreign ownership companies. Firstly, the companies who want to be established as foreign owners of the entity, they need to fulfill the approvals of competent authorities depending on their activity. They need to submit a trade name request according to the form prepared for this purpose. Ratification of the company's memorandum of association by the concerned department in the SEDD, and they should also be determining activity location and obtaining approval from Commercial Control and Protection Department on the location. They should provide a certified lease contract for activity site from the Sharjah City Municipality, and they should also pay the relevant license fees and receiving the license. Now, there's also another procedure for transferring existing companies to foreign ownership companies.
That's right. Those procedures include, first of all, they have to submit trade name requests. Then they will obtain approval from the Ministry of Economy. Then they need to obtain approvals from authorities concerned with the activity. And following that, they also need to obtain approval from Commercial Control and also Protection Department at the SEDD on activity location. And last but not least, they need to pay license fees, of course, and also receive the license in the end, obviously.
And also in terms of the general procedures, which is for almost every business, it is approval of all partners, including the local partner, to convert the company into a company wholly owned by the foreigners. They need to certify their sales or waive a contract from the local partner to the foreign partner, and they should be a certified memorandum of association, including names of foreign partners, and then eventually pay the license fee and receive the license. So it should be a very swift response. Now, big question is, can the foreign partners remove local partner from the license without or his or her consent?
No, the local partner must agree to waive his or her share, and in the event of any disagreements, either party, they may refer to the court.
And the other big question that people said in the FAQs is, does this decision apply to sole proprietorship companies under the service agent system, such as professional licenses and business companies? It
does not apply to them, whereas sole proprietorship companies are subject to the commercial transaction law. On the other hand, though, professional licenses and business companies are subject to the civil transactions law.
Yep, and of course the other aspect is is it mandatory for companies to transfer into foreign ownership, and can they keep the existing local partner? The answer is yes,
definitely.
they can.
Yes.
So there is no obligation that you have to be foreign ownership. It's just an added benefit.
And it's not required to have a specific capital to practice the activities permitted to be owned by foreignerships or foreigners.
Exactly. So, guys, if you want to have a bit of a recap of the guidelines that the Economic Development Department has shared with us, do text us on 4215, and we will be delighted to guide you through them. And it's going to be on Apple Podcast and SoundCloud, our discussion on this. And if you were to get some more details, you can do so by contacting us directly, and also logging on to our YouTube page where we publish these videos, and they're quite useful for you to go browse through them as well. So these were the guidelines issued by the Sharjah Economic Development Department that you heard on the airwaves of Pulse 95 Radio. We're gearing up for the sports headlines, but before that, we have a bit of John Legend. And up next, we will talk to you all about how to play paddle tennis, because it is in a rising and a popular sport as well. This is the Morning Majlis, only on Pulse 95.
Pulse 95. The Morning Majlis, talking the stories that are shaping headlines. This is Pulse 95.
Well, world leaders gathered over the weekend in the Corniche resort of Carbis Bay for face-to-face meetings at the summit of G7 nations. And among them are Chancellor Angela Merkel of Germany and President Joe Biden, who is actually making his first foreign visit since taking office. Now, the G7 it's an organization of the world's 7 largest so-called advanced economies. They are Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the UK, and the United States. And China has actually never been a member, despite its large economy and having the world's biggest population. But its relatively low level of wealth per person means it is not seen as an advanced economy in the way the G7 members are. But looking at what happened over the weekend, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson opened the G7 summit in Cornwall, as I just mentioned, with a message that the world must avoid the errors of previous recoveries in the pandemic as the U.S. sets out its stall for global infrastructure build back. And the UK Prime Minister basically lashed out at his European guests and warned he may soon be forced to suspend a key part of the Brexit deal agreed just last year. He said the EU leaders needed to get it into their heads that the protocol was interfering with the UK's national markets. He said, I think that, to be fair, there's quite a lot of misunderstanding around the EU about the situation in Northern Ireland, the balance of the Good Friday Agreement, the peace process, basically. He said, I was just in a gentle way getting across what that means, and I think that we'll have some pragmatic solutions. Now, we as I just mentioned, the leaders of the G7 view the gathering at Carbis Bay as a chance to kind of show the world that the richest democracies can offer help to a recovering global economy. And also, they do have a plan as well for the COVID-19 situation. Now, they will issue the Carbis Bay Declaration, and its aim is to prevent any repeat of the human and economic devastation wreaked by COVID-19. So globally, we have seen that more than 175 million people have had the infection since the outbreak began, with over 3.7 million COVID-related deaths, sadly. And that is according to America's Johns Hopkins University. So this new G7 declaration, it will basically spell out a series of steps, including slashing the time taken to develop and license vaccines, treatments, and diagnostics for any future disease to under 100 days only. Also, they will reinforce global surveillance networks and genomic sequencing capacity. And last but not least, they will support for reforming and strengthening the World Health Organization. So this declaration is basically expected to incorporate recommendations from a report by a group of international experts drawn from across industry, government, and also scientific institutions.
Yeah, so much has been put forward by them, especially when it comes back to the situation of Build Back Better World initiatives, the B3W. Now, there's not going to be any surprises who might have named that, given how Joe Biden's the election slogan was Build Back Better. So I think he's had more of a say in what kind of an initiative it shall be. They aim to provide a transparent infrastructure partnership to help narrow the $40 trillion dollars needed by developing nations by 2035, according to that White House statement. So they're looking at rivaling what China's got with the Belt and Road Initiative. And they're saying that the debt diplomacy is not going to be something that they endorse, and they want to continue with their influence. And another interesting aspect is, apart from the U.S. plans to counter China, is that the host of the summit is Boris Johnson, who received a wonderful gift, in fact, from Joe Biden, and it is a hand-built bicycle.
Oh.
And it was made by a small Philadelphia firm that was just given a few days to build a red, white, and blue bike that normally takes a month to construct. And Boris Johnson is going to be seen cycling around London, and he's known for the Boris bikes. And looking at the image that's been given to supplied to local or international media, it has got both the UK and American flags.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's very blue.
That's
and
symbolic.
very symbolic, very interesting indeed, and it's amazing in terms of how the creativity was seen in the helmet as well, and they're saying that that this is going to be a very a proud moment for Boris Johnson for sure, and with the helmet also signifying the relationship between the two states, and the budget. And then apparently, the bike did cost about $1,500.
Oh.
Well, yeah, very pricey bike, very decent.
Pricey.
Indeed, and so that is the latest in terms of what's coming out from the G7. We'll certainly keep you posted, because today is also the final day of the summit. And up next, we shall have a little bit of a mashup and a traffic update for you. And we've got a little bit of a surprise for you as well. Do get your texts ready and your phones ready to drop us and get involved with the text lines on 4215. We'll be back after a bit of a mashup.
Pulse 95.
The Morning Majlis, talking the stories that are shaping headlines. This is Pulse 95.
Do you know the answer to our quiz question?
Yes, of course. You had me at chocolate.
They gave birth to Roger Federer.
Oh, they did.
So Roger Federer hails from this.
They
country.
gave birth to Lindt chocolate.
Oh, yes.
That's what matters to me, because it's my favorite chocolate.
40% of the world's chocolate is exported from this country, or created or manufactured, or has a linkage to this country.
Well, they have all the right to, because they make the best chocolate, hands down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you still haven't guessed it, text us on 4215 with your name at the end, so that we get you involved on the country trivia. But we'll reveal the answer now, because you can actually fly to that country by the end of June.
That's right. Yeah, or starting from June 28th, in fact, all fully vaccinated travelers from the GCC, including here, the UAE, can travel to Switzerland, and thankfully they can travel quarantine-free. So vaccinated GCC tourists can travel to Switzerland without pre-travel tests, and it's going to be quarantine-free starting again June 28th. And basically, all tourists with EMA and WHO approved vaccinations, including Sinopharm, can travel to Switzerland. Happy news.
Yep, of course. It's going to be amazing news indeed. And we've also heard from the Swiss tourism saying that for all those people who require a visa to travel to Switzerland, they should request for Schengen visas against VFS outlets. and Emirati travelers, in fact, do not need a visa to travel to Switzerland, so it is going to be open for those people. Schengen visa is a short-stay visa allowing a person to travel to any of the Schengen area members, comprising of 26 European countries that have abolished all passport and other types of border control at their mutual borders, and they've also, the re-entry regulations must be adhered to. There are some exceptions to the proposed rules for certain countries, including India and Brazil. However, none from the GCC. All tourists from the UAE can travel to Switzerland irrespective of their nationality. If people are fully vaccinated, then the PCR is not necessary either. So, but if you are coming back to the UAE, of course, you need a PCR test to re-enter to the country as well. So, good news.
Great news, great travel news. In fact, just last week, the UAE carrier Emirates Airlines revealed a list of 19 countries travelers from the UAE could actually go to without undergoing quarantine. All they need, the travelers, they just need to provide their vaccination certificates upon arrival physically. And they must have received vaccines authorized by the EMA or one of the vaccines included in the WHO's emergency use listing. These include the Pfizer, Sinopharm, and the AstraZeneca vaccines. And Spain was actually the latest destination to open up to vaccinated travelers from the UAE. And starting June 7th, in fact, and also other countries as well that we can travel to here from the UAE quarantine free. They include Greece, Italy, Russia, Turkey, France, starting June 9th. Also here in the Middle East, Jordan, Lebanon, Bahrain, Egypt. Over in the whole of Asia, the Maldives, Seychelles, and Thailand. Thailand is going to open up pretty soon, I believe. And Kenya, Tanzania, and Morocco. Also the United States, because the Emirates does fly to 11 U.S. destinations, and it will be adding actually Miami as its 12th gateway on July 21st, I believe. And also Emirates actually will be resuming services to Mexico City starting July 2nd as well.
Exciting times
Very
indeed.
exciting.
Yeah, of course, it's going to be a lot of fun for sure.
Return to normalcy.
Yeah, getting back the world of travel back together really is so important and so crucial for us to be able to do that. And we're really hoping that things do get better when it comes to the world of travel. And look, the main important thing is get yourself vaccinated. Lots of tests, lots of vaccine appointments are available on the COVID-19 UAE app. And if you're a Dubai resident visa holder, then of course try the DHA app and get a chance to get one of those, either the Pfizer or the Sinopharm vaccine, because this is becoming ever more crucial, not for the safety of, not just for the well-being of our country, but also for yourself to be able to travel and make the most of your summer holidays. Stay with us on Pulse 95. We shall be returning very, very shortly, right after the news headlines.
Stay fit. Stay fit. Stay fit.
Abdul Karim, you had a very, very exciting weekend, and you definitely stayed fit, and you stayed informed, and you kept everyone informed as well about what's happening in the Euro 2020 and the sports headlines, basically. Plus, you also hosted the halftime show as well.
Yes, I did. We're hosting halftime show tomorrow as well. We wish Omar Abdouri all the very best with his planned surgeries as well, and it will be a big. It will be the talked about tournament is the Euro 2020, and they are. This is incredible in terms of what happened on the pitch, because one of the midfielders in the Danish squad collapsed during the match. And that took place yesterday, and luckily he did survive. And the players, medics and officials say that we all managed to get Christian Eriksen back after his collapse as well. And it was a game overshadowed by that incident, and he managed to recover well, and he is awake in the hospital, and which is really good news. But Finland managed to beat Denmark in that game by the score of 1-0. Finland also playing the first ever European Cup finals. That means the final round of the Euro Cup that we're watching on the big screens. Finland has never played in that tournament, and this is their first game at a major finals as they beat Denmark in a Euro 2020 match. Eriksson had collapsed 41 minutes into the game and received a CPR on the pitch, and there were a lot of visibly distressed teammates, and a lot of them just couldn't believe what was going on, and this is not something that you want to see on a football field at all, but luckily that is the situation that he's managed to get through it. Yesterday, Belgium won 3-0 against Russia, but today is the big game. It's the England versus Croatia.
Something that I'll be watching for sure. It's going to be at 5 p.m. our time, England versus Croatia. And also later on, Austria will play against North Macedonia at 8 p.m. as well. And later at 11 p.m., Netherlands will play against Ukraine.
Exactly.
Big games today.
Big games today, indeed. Lots to look forward to when it comes to that, and we look forward to welcoming you all on the conversation as well, to get you on this and the high spirits of watching these games. And do drop us a text on 4215 should you be interested in heavy, or should you be on the verge of, or should you be wishing to get involved on the text lines 4215. And we are also looking at the England versus New Zealand test match at this stage of time. England are definitely struggling, and they face defeat in the series decider against New Zealand after a very, very tragic batting, tragic scoreline, 112-9 England at the stage. They lead by 37 runs. That means once they do get bowled out, New Zealand will have a very low total to chase and will eventually be winning the game. So they are definitely in the advantage side at the moment, and lots of disappointed fans for England's cricket, but they'll definitely look forward to this game against Croatia today to avenge that semi-final defeat to Croatia in the 2018 World Cup, to finally get a chance to win and catch some more action as well. Well, guys, for now we'll be heading off.
Definitely.
Manchester Crew shall return tomorrow morning bright and early.
Yes, but the good news is that we had so many amazing conversations today and topics that we discussed on the show. We had Lieutenant Sultan El-Toneji from Sharjah Police talking about the first paddle tennis championship ever here in Sharjah. And also we celebrated, in fact, Russia Day and Philippines National Day. So we would like to again congratulate Russia and Philippines, both countries, on those amazing days that lie on June 12th. And we also celebrated, or talked about indeed, SEDD's foreign ownership laws, and we discussed that thoroughly. So if you want to catch up with all those conversations and more, you can head on to YouTube. Just type in Pulse 95 Radio, look for the Morning Majlis playlist, subscribe, share, and like. And also for the audio conversations, you can head on to SoundCloud, Spotify, and Apple Podcast as well. Just type in Morning Majlis.
Well, thank you all for tuning in, and we look forward to welcoming you guys bright and early tomorrow morning. This was the Morning Majlis, only on Pulse 95.
If you liked this episode of the Morning Majlis, drop a like and subscribe.
95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.
Pulse.